Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Roydell Clarke, and welcome to the channel. In this video today, we are going to talk about a story of how I found a four-leaf clover. I know this sounds like a fairy tale. This can't be real. There's no way he found a four-leaf clover. I did when I was younger. And this is that story and what I learned from it and how it changed me. So let's get into it. Why was I even looking for a four-leaf clover to begin with? I didn't just find it, I was looking for it. And the reason why I was looking for it is because I loved a cereal, and that cereal was called Lucky Charms. So, yes, I was very young, and I spent a very long time looking for this four-leaf clover, and I did eventually find it. And if you're not familiar with Lucky Charms, actually, Lucky Charms is a cereal that has, the whole grain element as you'd expect. So these I don't know if it's rings. It's like these somewhat cross like looking um, I guess whole wheat, but it also has these marshmallows, and these marshmallows are of different things. And it's about Lucky, and Lucky is this leprechaun who, um, leprechaun, clovers, that sort of space of things. So essentially, I said, you know what? I want to find a four-leaf clover. And for those who are not familiar with four-leaf clovers, because the West isn't the world, some people, you know, have other interests, you just never come across that information, and that's fine. A four leaf clover is considered to be quite lucky. If you find a four leaf clover, that makes you very, very lucky. That gives you or grants you good luck. So essentially, I embarked on this journey. It was about a year and a half. I was just looking every time. I live in Canada, so there's winters. But every spring, I think 2 summers in a row, in the different places I traveled, I would look for a four leaf clover. One day I found it. And I remember being in the car, and I carried this four leaf clover wherever I could. And I spoke with my parents about it. And I told them, look, I found a four leaf clover. And they said, wow, so you're so lucky now. And it made me think, hold on a second. If you have to be lucky, and they remind me of this story, they had reminded me of this story a couple years ago, and I had put it down in my notes and said, maybe this is something I'll do a video on eventually. It reminded me of something. And the thing that it reminded me of was, wait, if I have to be lucky to find the four leaf clover, that like button is kind of cool. If I have to be lucky to find a four leaf clover, but the four leaf clover grants me luck and then I'm lucky, don't I have to be lucky to begin with to even find it? And this was an insight my dad was very proud of at that time. I don't know if he'll still remember that portion of it, but I'm going to ask him in our Generation Gap podcast. But what I learned from that, it really kind of blew my mind back then. Again, being the kid that I was, very inquisitive, very curious, it very much blew my mind. And it made me realize that you create your own luck. Obviously, we understand the definition that a lot of people use. Luck is where preparation meets opportunity, right? And that's really what it ultimately comes down to. I was prepared to look for this, and then the opportunity arose, arisen, and I was able to find the four leaf clover. It was a combination of both. And I think that really is a takeaway that if you want to be lucky, then you need to put in the work to begin with, and the opportunity will eventually present itself for you to be lucky. And that is something that I've kind of come to realize. I've developed that in other ways and how I express it. One way is that I look at life a lot like a fairy tale. And I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people. Why would you look at life as a fairy tale, live in reality, be realistic? But there's this element of it that has to be faith driven, right? And I'm not, faith driven as far as you have to believe that you are going to achieve great things. And if you believe that the end result, and this is how I've come to it by believing it's a fairy tale, if you 100% believe you're destined for greatness because you put the work in, but not because of some sort of superiority complex, or you feel that you have a superior disposition. That's not what I'm saying. You've put the work in, and based off of that trajectory, this has to play out in some way or the other, where success is part of it. Everything else in between just makes for a better story. And if you think about that from that perspective, isn't that what a fairy tale is? If you look at Shrek, I'm using Shrek as an example. I think it's a funner, but essentially it is a fairy tale, right? It has a fairy tale ending. And a lot of the kid shows have this sort of fairy tale ending where you're at the beginning, there's problems that arise. They go through all this crazy stuff, have to jump over here, lose people, come back, find them, have to search for something, use that. It's this whole set of circumstances, shenanigans that are happening. But at the very end of it, every single time, they achieve the objective. That's success. And so everything else in between, the 80% of it, all just makes the inevitable a better story. Because you can start here and skip to the end because you know what's going to happen. And that's where I kind of factor in the faith component of it. So if you move through life with that understanding, I do believe there's waves that are you're making waves, right? And things are aligning for you in that way that success will eventually come. And why am I saying that now? I'm saying that now because the way that I've communicated that and some of the things that I have put out there and things that I'll put out on my website as well and in videos is that I said in a couple years from now, I am going to be very lucky. I'm going to be very lucky in a couple years, which sounds counterintuitive, right? Well, lucky in the colloquial sense, people think of it as something that is not something that you brought about yourself. It's something that was gifted to you. Lucky by God, you just missed that, walking across the street, the car just barely missed you or something like that. That's luck. And that is part of the definition. But what I meant to say and what I mean to say is I am going to be lucky in a couple years. I am putting the work in now so that I am prepared for when that opportunity does come. I will be lucky. I will be granted that luck because when I found that 4-leaf clover, I realized that I was always lucky to begin with. And that finding the 4-leaf clover just confirmed that reality. And so we are all lucky. We are all with a 4-leaf clover. We just need to realize that we are and put in the work so that when the opportunity does come, which I believe is the lucky portion of it, the opportunity does come, we are ready to embrace this luck that is coming our way. And at the end of the day, it will all make for a better story. So that's what I have for you guys today. I'll leave it there. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far in this video, please leave a like or a comment as I continue to build out the rest of this channel and the content that I plan on putting out and eventually be able to help and impact the people that I want to help, bridge passions and so forth. So thank you again for watching. My name is Roydell Clarke. I will see you in the next one. Peace.